Hello everybody and welcome to beautiful Belle Isle Park, just outside the downtown area of Detroit, Michigan. It's John Hindhaugh and Jeremy Shaw with you in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre for our final time on this street circuit for IMSA and the sports car racing. 13 corners, 2.3 miles. Action areas at turn 2, not necessarily for passing, but the wall gets awfully close awfully quickly there. Down at turn 3, yeah, that's a place you can go through. Turn 6, get that one right because it's a decent run. Down Strand 2 with the river on your left hand side to turn 7, another overtaking manoeuvre. I'd add one more into that. If you're very brave, you can get up the inside at turn 1 as well, but you need a little bit of help. Absolutely gorgeous day here. It's 73 Fahrenheit and 118 Fahrenheit in the track on the track and in the air and on the track, or if you prefer, 48 Celsius on the track, 23 in the air. Pretty much perfect for what will be, sadly, Jeremy, our last visit to this particular circuit. It is of course it's a straight track, but it's not a typical straight track. There's some quick corners here, and it races, particularly for multi-class racing, whether it was with ELMS or Grand Am or now with IMSA, it's always raced very well for the sports cars. Good afternoon.
It has. It's a tremendously challenging venue. I mean, it really is. There is no room for mistake here, unless you're Sebastian Bourdais. We're going to say that one again. But it's great. They've done a super job here over the years of trying to make it more racy. They've opened up several corners. They lengthened that straightaway between 2 and now down to 3. They've gone back and forth. They've been a couple of different iterations here. The Strand section leading towards the Fountain section has also been widened there, and they've done their best job to make this a really good, I think, a really good racetrack. I always enjoy travelling to this island for this race event, and it's going to be sad in some ways that this is going to be the last one. But I also remember the old downtown circuit around the Renaissance Centre. It's only a couple of miles from here as the crow flies. Well, 4 or 5 miles I suppose it is, but it seems a lot closer than that. And that was a heck of a challenge as well.
It's going to be an interesting new circuit. TBA at the moment, whether IMSA will be down there with IndyCar. We haven't had the schedule announced for 2023 yet. John Doonan will do that, and we'll cover that for you on IMSA Radio and IMSA TV at Road America. There are some options being discussed, we hear, for IMSA, and it might be not exactly the same calendar as it was for this year, but we'll leave that for another time and look at our Porsche keys to the race. We talked about this in the Countdown to Green, the Michelin Countdown to Green, Jeremy. This is a sprint race, the joint shortest race of the year for the WeatherTech SportsCar Championship. Again, unless you're Sebastian Bourdais, make a mistake here, you don't have a lot of time to make it back up, and yet you have to go early because there's not a lot of time to wait. We normally talk about patience. I'm not sure you can have too much patience here. Got to make the moves and make them stick early.
And this is a racetrack that you can make some overtaking moves on. You might have to be bold to do so, but it is possible. And I think I'm looking forward to a really exciting race here this afternoon. It might be only 100 minutes, but it's going to be, for some of the drivers out there, it's going to seem like longer than that because it is such a challenge.
Single pit stop for the 10 cars in GTD. 1.5, or will some of the teams split it into 2 3/4 length pit stops for the DPIs?
Yeah, that's the important question here. If somebody makes a break early on and commits themselves to 2-stop strategy, are the others going to follow suit? They'll be watching the lap times very, very closely.
Tyres, Michelin tyres here. It's warm, but not too warm. Right in the middle of the Michelin operating temperature. All the cars in each of the classes on the same compound and construction, of course. Might we see a 2-stop strategy, particularly from the DPI on their second, a 2-tyre strategy rather, particularly from the DPIs on their second, potentially shorter stop?
Again, that's certainly something that is going to be, at the very least, considered. because if you can save yourself a few seconds on the pit stop, then maybe go for it. But the tyre changes are pretty quick these days. It takes about the same amount of time to change drivers as it does to change tyres. So I would doubt it. But then again, the Michelin tyres last well. We saw that yesterday in qualifying with 8 laps being set before Bourdais laid down his pole time. And in GTD, Carl Kirkwood did it on his very, very last lap. So I think anything is possible here. But I'm sure the DPI cars will be aiming for a 2-stop strategy, and they will most likely change tyres as well.
Hello to Robert Bester in the UK, Jerry Z in Florida, and the rest of the sports car community. Sebastian Bourdais and Tom Blomqvist come to the line, and we get the green flag. The 100 minutes begin to count down, and immediately Ricky Taylor in the black and blue, number 10 Acura, was being a little bit confrontational there, trying to go up the inside, the right hand side of turn 1. He drops back into 3rd position as they run down to the heavy braking area at turn number 3. Paul Sitter, Sebastian Bourdais for Cadillac, and Chip Ganassi holds on the lead from the very bright coloured number 60 of Meyer Shank Racing with Kerr Bagajanian. Down the inside, further back on the field, Whelen Engineering, Ollie Pla didn't get the qualifying he wants, goes past the red and white number 31. That was the Whelen car going back one position, in fact, as Tristan Fortier was pushing his way through in the JDC Miller car. Been a good, reasonably good start at the front of the field in GT Daytona, where Kyle Kirkwood took the pole for Vassar Sullivan in his RCF GT3 Lexus. Looks like Roman De Angelis has been shuffled slightly further back. He started on the outside of the front row, and there's battles going on. Yeah, De Angelis is well down, up into 2nd place. It is the AMG Mercedes, that's the Windward car, I think, that's right in there. So that's come up through the field. Cortef Racing car has with McAleer moving up as well. Sorry, Jeremy, go ahead.
Yeah, no, there's a big shuffle there at GTD. Out front here, Sebastian Bourdais, he had to get defensive on that first lap, didn't he, to keep Tom Blomqvist behind him. But a great move by Tristan Vautier there to make a really good exit out of turn 2 and get the inside line into turn 3 to get past Olivier Pla for 5th position.
Well, if you bet anything on a first corner or a first lap schmozzle, I'm afraid you put your money on the wrong horse here on Belle Isle, and we've had a clean opening to this race. Now, a 96 car penalty. Now, we knew this was going to happen. They didn't qualify well, and Turner Motorsport have come into the pit lane for their drive-through. That was tactical, effectively, Jeremy. They were starting well down anyway in the GTD field, and Robbie Foley put on a new set of Michelin tyres at the start, before the start of the race. You're not allowed to do that. You're supposed to race at the start of the race with the tyres you qualified on. But that's not a mistake there. That's a tactical switch.
Yeah, it is. That's right. They just went the wrong way on the setup in qualifying that Turner Motorsport BMW. Robbie Foley was really struggling, so he qualified at the back. And let's change tyres and make some wholesale setup changes and send him out there on a fresh set. So he's going to give up that track position. A lot of work to do now as Robbie Foley. By the way, Roman De Angelis, the reason we didn't see him is because he made a bolt for the start in front, not back.
Oh! My apologies.
So De Angelis leads in GTD by he led by 2 seconds at the end of that first lap from Carl Kirkwood.
Actually, out of the picture from the battle that was going on behind Kirkwood's. Yeah. Kirkwood's car is the black and yellow car. That's the one that catches the eye. Slightly darker coloured heart of the racing team. Stealthed through. My apologies for missing that, Roman, but a great start from him. Robbie Foley is back out of the pits, and now will start his troll towards the back. The last car in line in GTD, just going into turn 3 now. That's the Wright Motorsports Porsche, whilst Robbie Foley is coming out of turn 2. So there's only the length of that stretch between turns 2 and 3 between Robbie Foley and the back of the pack. Meantime, the leaders are into the Scott Fountain area. Foley then down towards turn 3 now. You can't miss that yellow and blue Turner Motorsport number 96. Congratulations to his teammate Bill Oberlin, who won the BMW M Legends race at the Nürburgring Nordschleife. Drive-through penalty for changing the Michelin tyres, as we mentioned, for Robbie Foley. Again, not a mistake, that was tactical. And as I say, his teammate won the BMW M Legends race in identical M2 CS cars at the Nürburgring last weekend. Reverse grid, he started at the back and fought his way through and had a great time. It is the 50th anniversary of BMW Motorsport and BMW M. Fastest lap in GTD, Madison Snow, third place for Paul Miller Racing in the BMW M4 GT3. And fastest lap at the front of the field will surprise nobody, Jeremy, a 1:24.4 for Sebastian Bourdais. And it's a question of when, I think, rather than if he's going to break the lap record. What's he aiming for?
Well, yeah, no, he's a long way from the lap record, because the lap record is 1:20.492, so he's a long way from that, 3.5 seconds away from that at this stage. And that's what is intriguing to me, because certainly you can save fuel here. It's not easy to pass, so you can coast on several parts of this racetrack and extend your fuel stint by quite a long way. If they're driving flat out, I think they could probably do about 31 laps on a tank of fuel, but I think they can extend that by quite a lot if they're being creative. And to save that pit stop, it's going to cost them a lot of track time, but it's worth it just to make that one pit stop during this race. I think it's going to be very difficult to overcome even that extra stop. So it's a bit early yet. We've got not quite, 5 minutes into the race now. So the DPI cars would be able to come in and change their driver if they wanted to, and get to the end without any minimum drive time requirements. But Tom Blomqvist is just a little bit quicker there, 1/10 of a second quicker. I see, indeed, he has been on each of two of the last 3 laps, and he goes to 23.8 last time around for the second place car.
If you're watching the timing and scoring from IMSA and Alcamel online, you will see in the area of race control, the start was reviewed. That's standard operational procedure. It was looked at and nothing was found to be wrong. So we race on. No further penalties then after the start of this race. 93.5 minutes to go. And the leaders are through the back of the fountain, out through turn 11. Fountain on their right-hand side, the James Scott Memorial Fountain. Bit of a fight going on between drivers this weekend as to who was the first person to take a dip in the fountain and start that tradition. Felipe Nasser claims it was him, and I think Ryan Hunter-Reay from the IMSA paddock, from the IndyCar paddock, thinks it was him. It was the same weekend when IMSA and IndyCar have been together for a lot of their races here, and it's not exactly lost in the mist of time, but there is a bit of competitive edge there. And I did hear in the IndyCar broadcast earlier Ryan saying, right, let's get Nasser on the phone and find out whether he went in on day 1 or day 2, and where the races were, to find out what was going on. It will be the last time today if that does happen.
It would have been I don't remember, to be perfectly honest, but the IMSA race is always here on a Saturday. Oh yeah, you're right. There were 2 races. 2
races. There used to be the doubles here. It's only a single race here. Yeah.
Good point.
Very good. So coming down to 90 minutes, and it is status quo at the moment. Carl Kirkwood in second is the man who's rocking all over the world. Though as far as GTD is concerned, he's just put in a 29.8 and closes in to 0.6 of a second on the second, on the leader, with Madison Snow about the same distance away in third position.
Yeah, so he's closed that gap, has Carl Kirkwood. He's set the fastest lap of the race in GTD, 1:29.8. The lap record in GTD, by the way, was a 1:29.0. It was set by Bernd Schneider a few years ago, back in 2018. He made a couple of starts in this championship, the former DTM legend. And last year's fastest lap was a 29.4. So the DPIs are now down in 22s, 22.3 last time around for the second place car. It was again the fastest lap of the race. So 22.6, but they're still a couple of seconds away from their ultimate fastest potential times. But Kirkwood, by the way, he's driving hurt Yesterday had a great day, qualified on pole position, was fastest in the opening NGT IndyCar Series practice session of the weekend. For AJ Foyt, brilliant effort yesterday. Unfortunately, this morning didn't start off too well because he had an incident in the first session in IndyCar early this morning, went into the tyre barriers at turn 7, and he's certainly caused some damage to his right hand and wrist. So he's driving a little bit hurt. The good news is the Lexus does have power steering, so it's not, I think, affecting him quite as badly in this car as it is the IndyCar, John.
Exactly what we wanted to see in the first 10 minutes. Green flag racing as Sebastian Bourdais for Cadillac and for Chip Ganassi heads across the line. That's another new fastest lap. And what were 124s have now come down to 22s as the VP Racing fuel is burning off. 122 flat last time around. And Sebastian Bourdais resets the fastest lap of this race for the DPIs. His lead is only half a second. It's not that now. Lovely run through turn 3 from Tom Blomqvist, who pulls up into a challenging position. He'll be looking to get a good run out of turn 6, which is the next right-hander that he'll come to, and see if he can get a little bit of aerodynamic advantage as he heads onto the strand and down towards turn 7. Well, he lost out there, looked like just lost the front end a little bit, maybe a little bit of aero wash behind the Cadillac in front of him. Cadillac from Acura, from Cadillac, that's your top 4. And in GT Daytona, Aston Martin by now 3/4 of a second, so it's gradually been pegged back by Kyle Kirkwood and Madison Snow, who's done the fastest lap there at a 1:29.6. Madison in 3rd position in the number 1 Paul Miller Racing. So Aston, Lexus, BMW, your top 3 in GTD.
Yeah, and nothing to choose between those 3 cars at the moment, it would appear, with the Aston Martin for Roman DeAngelis leading the way. Of course, he can almost see his home from here. He lives just south in Canada, south, over the river in Windsor, Ontario. So this is his home race for Roman DeAngelis, and here he is, having won this race last season, his first race win at this level, looking to make it 2 in a row for that Heart of Racing team.
Jeremy Shaw and John Hindhaugh in the Hagerty Global broadcast booth. Let's take a quick look at our VP Racing Fuels in race update. No change then from the front row, started side by side, now one behind the other. The gap is 0.8 of a second. The 01 black fronted and dark red Cadillac Racing DPI, then the pink, white and blue of Tom Blomqvist in second. He's got the black and gloss blue and black car right in behind him as well at about, well, actually dropped back about a second now, Ricky Taylor, and that's nearly 2 seconds. Then Alex Lynn for the 02 Cadillac, that's the team car to the leader, so that's got the black front and the white or chalk coloured hindquarters. Then Alex Lynn for Cadillac, then Tristan Vautier rather for Cadillac in the dark grey and gold JDC Miller Motorsport car, and Olivier Plat in for Tristan Nunez. He is in the 31 red, white wheel and engineering car, already 9 seconds away from the lead. Roman DeAngelis leads for Heart of Racing. His gap's 3/4 of a second to Kyle Kirkwood, the pole sitter in the yellow and black, the bumblebee coloured Lexus RCF GT3, the number 12 car, the number 17 car, excuse me, that's the extra car in GTD. It is the car that would normally run the number 14 in GTD Pro, but the pros aren't here this weekend, and Lexus have decided to shuffle their drivers around and have 2 entries in the last couple of races. Real commitment to the series by Lexus, and they should be commended for that. In fairness, they were the presenting partner of the last race, but they wanted to carry that on here on Belle Isle, and well done to them. Madison Snow is 3rd in the number 1 Paul Miller Racing BMW M4 GT3. That's the dark grey car. He's got the 2nd of the Lexus. A little bit further back now, Frankie Montecalvo is in 4th position, and he's about 3 seconds further back. Then it's Stephen McAleer for Team Korthoff and the Mercedes AMG GT3 number 32. Aidan Reid working his way through the field in the 51 Rick Ware Racing Acura. Robert McGuinness in the car bombed by Peregrine Lamborghini Huracan. Note the variety of manufacturers here, dear viewer and listener. That's the dark grey car with the bright green accent on it. Russell Ward for Winward Racing, who made a decent start, settling down into 8th position now for Winward Racing. Ryan Hardwick in the bright blue and black Porsche from Wright Motorsports, that's number 16 car. Robbie Foley still trying to get onto the back of the field after that first that opening lap when he came around and had to do his drive-through. He's not really been able to get onto the back of the field, even though he's got those new tyres on the car, and that has slightly surprised me. So that BMW, still clearly, Jeremy, not quite with the pace of the rest of the field, not even the back of the field.
No, indeed, he's been struggling. He really hasn't. He made it maybe a second or so, but that was about it. So no, he's still struggling. He's Robbie Foley in that tournament for BMW. Meanwhile, as I suggested, car number 31 has just come into the pits, and Pipo Derani has climbed aboard that number 31 car. So again, that strategy to bring in Olivier Pla instead of Tristan Nunez, I can't see how that's gained them anything by doing that. And the youngster, by the way, from Florida, he was completely taken by surprise when that news came out earlier this week. He actually travelled up to the shop in North Carolina, expected to go to a test at Road Atlanta, and was told that his services wouldn't be required, which I think is rather strange. But the press release said he's still part of the operation and will remain so. So we will see. But there is number 31 car then coming down the strand with that driver change already completed. Let's see what sort of lap time Pipo Derani can turn as Ricky Taylor now sets the fastest lap of the race at 21.8, excuse me, in the third place car.
Well, they've still got one more stop to do, and everybody in the field will have to do 2 stops. So it's a calculated.
No, I don't think they will, John. I don't think they do.
Do you think the DPIs can go on 1 stop with a bit of fuel save?
I think probably so. Yes.
Right. Okay.
Because I think they were doing quite a lot of fuel save at the beginning of the race. The pace has increased. We'll see what sort of lap times Pipo can do once he gets that car up to speed in a lap or 2. It's going to be interesting to see. It's certainly going to be a little while before he does that. And I think more than likely, the leading cars reckon they can get it on 1 stop. So for the number 31 team, hey, it's a Hail Mary. It's worth a try, because they're not going to get any better than 6th place if they just do the same as everybody else, most likely. If everybody else goes on 1 stop, you're absolutely right. If a safety car comes out any time now between that, so you're asking them to do 50 minutes, aren't you? And there's quite a lot of full throttle round here. I think that's asking a lot. I really do. But hey, greater minds than mine. In fairness, I'm damning everybody on the pit wall with praise there. But there are some very good minds on the pit road, some excellent minds on the pit wall, and they will have worked this out. They are not doing this on the fly with a pencil on the back of an envelope, put it that way. There's a lot of computing power and a lot of common sense going into this. Big moment at the front of the field as Bourdais goes through and puts a lap on Roman De Angelis in the heart of racing Aston Martin. And just for a moment, Tom Blomqvist and Ricky Taylor were briefly held up as they went through turn 7 and 8 on the far river side of the circuit. We are surrounded by river here. It's an island. Yes, of course it is. Now coming back to the start-finish line and past the commentary boxes on their left-hand side. Through goes Sebastian Bourdais in front of the grandstands. Good crowd there. Good afternoon to you. Thank you for staying with us this afternoon for the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship race over in the UK. It is 8:30 on a Saturday night in Central Europe. Summertime, it is 9:30. Hello to those listening in Belgium, including Gert van Kamp. Also to Ian McCarthy, who's in Hungary at the moment. And many of you coming in from a day out. It's been a big bank holiday weekend in the UK, celebrating the 70th anniversary of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II's accession to the throne, longest reigning monarch in the world. So a couple of extra days off on Thursday and Friday, and generally speaking the weather I hear has been very nice in the UK. So if you're just coming in
after your street party. You've missed only around about 20 minutes, of this race, and it is settling in to look exactly as we hope, Jeremy Shaw, which is a flat-out blast around the green and pleasant surroundings that is Belle Isle here just outside Detroit, Michigan.
Indeed so, and Sebastian Bourdais here makes himself, well, not very scarce, because he still hasn't managed to pull out more than the most. I think this is the first time the lead was, well, not quite a second as they come across the line to complete to complete lap 40. Yeah, just over a second actually. That's the first time he's reached a second during this race. His lap time over the leader, that was his best lap of the race for Sebastian Bourdais, 1:21.1. So he's getting on with the case now, and he needs to, because Pipo Derani, his first flying lap was a 1:21.8, but he's still a long way behind. But the good news is, if he can keep on this pace, he's going a lot quicker than the two cars directly ahead of him. Alex Lynn has fallen a long way back, 8.4 seconds from third to fourth. Alex Lynn, of course, driving the second of the Cadillac Racing entries, the number 02 car, and he's edged out finally a little bit of a margin over Tristan Vautier, number 5.
It's an interesting strategy. Derani is flying because he's got a car that's full of fuel. They did change tyres, even though they were only putting a certain amount of fuel in, but there were at least two new Michelin tyres went on to Derani's Wheel and Engineering Cadillac. He'll go to the end of the race now, and what we've got to look at is that gap, 53.5 seconds between Derani and the front of the field, and 40 seconds between Derani and the back of the field. So in terms of DPI, now he's got clear air at the moment. He's just gone past Robbie Foley in the number 96 car. He's heading into turn 7 at the end of the strand. The next guy he'll have to put a lap on is Ryan Hardwick. For now, he can pick those cars off fairly easy, Jeremy, because there are singleton cars. Aidan Reid, by the way, just put in the fastest lap of the GTD race for Rick Ware Racing and the NSX GT3, 1:29.2. Stout work by Aidan.
Indeed so, and he qualified well yesterday, did the Aussie, and he's thoroughly enjoying his role in that number 51 car. Going to be sharing it with Ryan Eversley, of course, who's a massive amount of experience with all sorts of different Hondas and Acuras, and he's a smart young man. He's also, when he's not racing this car in the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship, Aidan Reid is an engineer with the Rick Ware Racing NASCAR teams as well, so he's a busy boy, and he's driving really nicely.
So at IMSA Radio, if you'd like to get in touch with us on Twitter, that'll put you on the screens in front of us here in the Hackney Global Broadcast Centre. Hello to Tactical Jedi, who's tuned in tonight, out in France at the moment, and a reminder that our gearbox girl, Shea Adam, out in France at the moment for the 24 hours. We'll have coverage of test day tomorrow over on RS1, exclusive coverage from the Radio Show Limited network of audio and visual channels. Shea's scrutineering programme with all interviews of the drivers. That will go out after the conclusion of Michelin post-race tech tonight, so about 10 minutes, 15 minutes after the end of the race itself. Real wiggle on at the moment by Pipo Derani, 1:21.1 last time around. 20.6 was the fastest lap though by Tristan Vautier last time around.
Yeah.
So that's a huge improvement on the rest of the field. That's 4/10 quicker than even Sebastian Bourdais, who is at the front of the field, and he did his fastest lap last time around as well, Jeremy.
Well, that's right, because I think they realised that Pipo Derani, the pace he's turning, if he's able to keep that up, by the time the pit stops are completed, he's going to be ahead of the number 5 car. But again, but the number 31 car is still going to have to make an extra stop as well. So it's very unlikely that this strategy is going to pay off for the number 31 team, and they really do need a full course caution to really make it work. But like I say, they were running in last place in any case, so it's certainly worth the gamble.
They just reminding everybody they stopped after 10 laps. They did have the driver time done because it's only 5 minutes, and people will stay in that car till the end of the race. The reason I'm going to remind you about 10 laps is because if he does manage to push the cars in front to need a splash at the end of the race, let's remember that 10 laps is how long he was stationary for 10 laps of fuel. So just remember that may need to be the balance when we get to the closing stages of this race, which still has an hour and a quarter, 75 minutes to go here in the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship, the Chevrolet Sports Car Classic. Great to have your company wherever you are in the world. It's been a busy few weeks for sports car drivers, hasn't it? Nürburgring 24 hours last weekend. Here, there was the 1,000 Ks at Paul Ricard today, then Le Mans test day, then Le Mans next weekend as well. Plenty going on for those who ply their trade in the endurance paddocks, and quite a few people, including the Michelin tyre engineers, jumping on flights after this race tonight to get to north central France tomorrow for that test day, which starts at 9 o'clock French time. So they're really going to have to hustle to get there, and hard work by all the Michelin technicians to get everybody on the circuit here, supplying tyres to all of the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship, of course. Michelin have also got races in Malaysia and Le Mans this weekend, as we mentioned. So there's plenty of endurance. I've got a feeling I missed a race out there. I think there's an endurance race over in Super Taiko as well in the Japanese series. 120.682 is the best lap at the moment. Alex Lynn beginning to pick his pace up at 121.5. This is quality stuff at the front of the field though, Jeremy. Sebastian Bourdais, we were bigging him up, rightly I think, because of his momentum, because of his talent, because of his speed. Well, we've got to say that Tom Blomqvist has given him absolutely no respite at all in the 26.5 minutes since we went green. Good for the young lad.
Particularly impressive given the fact that this is the first ever visit to the Raceway of Belle Isle for Tom Blomqvist, and this is not this is not an easy racetrack. A lot of drivers will tell you this is about the most difficult racetrack on the calendar to learn because of its so many little nuances here, and generally speaking, no room for a mistake. So he's done a really good job to get himself up to speed.
Russell Ward off in the 57 Techmet AMG. This is the black and dark grey car, and there's damage to the right front of that machine, and that is turn 11 coming out of the fountain section. And now, is he pointing in the wrong direction? Can he get it to a place of safety? We're staying green at the moment. He's listed as in the runoff at turn 11. So has he managed to turn that car off the track, or did he go straight on, Jeremy, at turn 7 and has clipped one of the concrete bollards? Not sure. Oh no, he's lost it coming out of turn 10 and swiped the wall under the advertising hoardings. The inner fender, the inner wheel arch, has dropped out and is on the track, but that isn't in. I don't think that's in the firing line there. I think he's managed to get that car out of harm's way. He has. He's done a cracking job, and we stay green. So a mistake for Russell, just proving, Jeremy, how quick it is coming out of that amphitheatre section and that final left-handed part before they swing right-handed back on the waterfront. Just lost the front end of the car, and Russell is not happy with himself. He's damaged the right front, and that's race over for the number 57 Winward car.
Yeah, that's just got a bit wide there coming through that middle part of the fountain section and smoked the wall pretty hard. Not a place we often see an accident, but look, it's really bumpy through there. It's very easy to make a mistake anywhere on this racetrack, and he just lost it and hit the wall. That's the end of his race. And the number 31 team, well, they were desperately hoping for a full course caution. Incidentally, having turned a few very fast laps initially on a fresh set of tyres, he's now slipped back into a pace that is not even as quick. In fact, he's losing ground to all the other contenders now, is Pipo Derani. So not quite sure what's going on there with that number 31 team, but it's clearly been a struggle all the way through this race.
So out in front, the number 10, Ricky Taylor, is in third position for Connington Minolta Acura. He is heading just to the scene of that accident now, coming out with the fountain on the right-hand side, James Scott Memorial Fountain, and onto the back straight. And Pipo Derani, stung by Jeremy Shaw,
yes,
seeing that he'd eased off a bit, has just put a new fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, that's bizarre. I guess he probably gets his way through some traffic the last few laps, certainly, but he certainly had been losing ground or hadn't been making any ground on the cars ahead of him. But as you say, he's turned that around at 120.341 then for Pipo Derani, and that is a new lap record. It was set by his co-driver last season, Felipe Nasr, who finished in second position, that pairing. As we see another replay again of that very heavy impact there for Russell Ward. It tore off the right front effectively, completely broke the upright in any case.
Hello to Chris Humphreys, one of the Orange Army back over in Europe, in Ireland today, been to Mondello Park for the Five Nations British Rallycross, and is back at his hotel in Dublin, tuned in to IMSA Radio and IMSA TV, bringing the endurance racing community together, which we'll be doing next week as well, of course, from the Circuit de la Sarthe. Here's the pit stop starting, Jeremy, for the GTD cars, and Robbie Foley's in again, and they were looking at the left front as if they weren't sure that was okay, but it doesn't seem as though they're changing and putting a new set of Michelin tyres. This looks like fuel only to me.
It does, doesn't it? And 31 minutes only gone in this race, so it's too early to make a driver change. So this certainly wouldn't be I believe, a scheduled stop, unless, because I think they're probably going to go a lap down with this pit stop as well. Yeah, they are, to the other contenders. So the problems continue for Turner Motorsport.
The only sports car race on Belle Isle this weekend. Craig Bennett won the Masters Endurance USA race in a fabulous Lola B1280. George Crash in the Chevy C5R was second, and third was Kurt Bennett in another C5R. Good to see the older cars out on the track, representing the history of IMSA. Shame there's only two categories here this weekend. I know that it appeals to some people, the simplicity of one GT and one prototype category. Well, I have to say I do like the addition of LMP2 and LMP3, and I do miss the GTD Pros as well, the factory cars, although in fairness down through the years even the GT Le Mans cars normally weren't here because of the clash with the Le Mans test weekend. So this has always been a little bit of an outlier because of where it is on the calendar. Coming down to the hour then, an hour and 7, just under. And here's how it stands for the VP Racing Fuel in-race update. Team Cadillac and Sebastian Bourdais, the 0-1 car. All of a sudden, a 3-second gap back to Tom Blomqvist, who's opened up 4 seconds on Ricky Taylor, who has 7 on Alex Lynn. 0-1, 60, 1-0 and 0-2 are your top 4. Pipo Derani still 53 seconds away from the leader. So it's barely changed since he came out after his pit stop, despite the fact that he has clocked the fastest lap and lapped a full second quicker than Bourdais last time around. These clumps of GTD cars, Jeremy, are actually causing lap times to go out quite markedly for the DPIs when they come round to fight their way through the battling GTDs, which has still De Angelis by about a second from Kyle Kirkwood in the Lexus RCF, so Heart of Racing Aston from RCS Lexus from BMW and Paul Miller Racing.
Yeah, indeed so. And for Sebastian Bourdais, they finally put this train of all the GTD cars 2 laps down now to the overall leaders. And having done that, he's just turned his best lap on the race, 120.7 that time for Sebastian Bourdais, 120.5, also the fastest lap of the race so far for the second place car of Tom Blomqvist. And as we already talked about, Pipo Derani reset a new lap record a couple of laps ago, 120.05 for Pipo Derani in that number 31 car. The old lap record in qualifying, by the way, set back in 2019 was a 19.3 on Pablo Montoya. As we've already talked about, Sebastian Bourdais a full half a second beneath that. The whole time last year was a 120.03. That's almost the identical time that Pipo Derani has turned during this race.
Been a good drive by all of these teams and drivers at the moment. They'll be checking their fuel burn and working out where they are coming down to the hour marker, and I suspect that once that time comes through, well, there we go, we've clicked over the amount of time required for the driver level. We've done 35 minutes, and it was 35 minutes, Jeremy, wasn't it? Actually,
yes,
it was. Yes, it was 35 minutes. It's a 100-minute race. So Reiter in and out then has jumped Ryan Hardwick. Jan Halen will jump into that car, has done. He's bolted in and he's ready to go. And the pit stop cycle starts. Here's Madison Snow. He unfolds his tall frame out, and the rather more diminutive Brian Sellers with a seat insert gets into the BMW of Paul Miller Racing whilst the team go to work. There's a way to do that, and all of the belts have to be put in the right place. He pulls out the steering wheel, gets ready to start the car, makes sure that his belts are over the hands device, fastens them down, pulls them tight, and he's out. Perfect pit stop for Paul Miller Racing, Jeremy. And here's the Lexus as well. 4 Michelin tyres, full load of VP Racing fuel. That was the number 12 car. Still to see Kyle Kirkwood come in. The caught off AMG, silver, green and white, that's in as well. So it is pretty much everybody bar the leading 2, Jeremy, who have come into the pit lane.
Yes, indeed so, that's right. And Kyle Kirkwood, of course, he's, we know how fast he is. He'll probably try and stay out as long as he possibly can, which I wouldn't expect him to come in at all at this stage, which is fine as long as there isn't a full course caution. Because if there is a full course caution, everybody else has made their stop, then it could be problematic for the number 17 car. Otherwise, I would expect him to stay out at this rate and hope that Roman De Angelis comes in sooner rather than later. So the interesting thing is, when will the number 27 car opt to pit? The answer is right now, because that car is on pit lane, and Kirkwood indeed has stayed out. Here is the number 27 Heart of Racing Aston Martin.
Leader in GTD in the pit lane. It's full service. It'll be 4 tyres, and again they'll be squeezing as much VP Racing fuel in as they can. The tyres were done in plenty of time. Driver change not quite finished, but it's not costing them time at the moment as the fuel probe is still in. Door hasn't quite shut. Now that fuel hose is out, that cost them nothing. Much better to get that done and make sure everything was all right. And that car on the pit lane limiter heading towards turn number 1. And Roman's done his job, and Roscoe now has to do his. Getting off the pit lane speed limiter. Now, a moment or two ago, there was a problem for Kyle Kirkwood, who went a tiny bit wide at turn 3, dropped his left hand Michelin's over the blue and white curb and onto the dirt. He wants to push hard. right now, these next couple of laps will really count. 1:29.1 is the fastest lap of the race, and it is credited to Kirkwood. He did a 29.4 last time around. And here is the start of the DPI pit stops as well, with still 1 hour to go. In comes the number 10. They've been stationary for 25 seconds. So Philippe Albuquerque has taken over that car and will presumably race to the end. And here's Kirkwood. So Kirkwood left out for 1 extra lap, Jeremy, to try and push hard and get what people term the overcut, trying to get the performance advantage of the light car to try and turn that, 3/4 of a second deficit into some kind of lead. And they've sent him now. Where is the Aston Martin? Still waiting to see it come down the front straight. It's just coming through the final corner. Now looking into the distance, the 27 should be coming through. There it is. And it's going to be still. No, it's gonna be a change. So that 1 extra lap by the guys at Vassar Sullivan, I reckon that's got them the lead, Jeremy.
Absolutely right, it has, yeah. And that's why Kirkwood was pushing so hard on
yes, it was.
in-lap, using every inch of the racetrack, the curb, and even a little bit of the grass to try and go as fast as he possibly could on that in-lap before he handed over that number 17 car to Ben Barnicoat. Brilliant job there by Carl Kirkwood. Barnicoat now, of course, he's on tyres that are cold, and the Ross Gunn in the Aston Martin has tyres that at least have 1 lap of speed in them, if you like. They've built themselves up to pressure and temperature. He's going to be pushing as hard as he can, but I don't think he's going to be close enough. He's quite a long way behind, it would appear, that Lexus as they head into that section of the racetrack. So great stop there, great strategy by the Vassar Sullivan team. Meanwhile, Sebastian Bourdais, he's just at the last 2 of the last 3 laps, he's turned his best lap of the race. And all of a sudden that gap back to Tom Blomqvist is over 4 seconds.
So under 1 hour to go, and now we'll see how this strategy has paid off. Piquet Arani is 52 seconds behind the leader, and the top 4 has not yet stopped. None of the 4 have stopped at the front of the field. 4.3 seconds the gap from Sebastian Bourdais in the leading Acura. It's the 0-1 car coming around the far side of the circuit. He's on the strand at the moment and heading towards turn 7. When do they jump? That lead could disappear in a heartbeat now, with teams having stopped behind him, including Philippe Albuquerque, who was in 3rd position. Remember, Ricky Taylor in that car was in 3rd position. So Alex Lynn has jumped up to 2nd, 22 seconds behind the leader in his Cadillac number 02. That's the team car to Sebastian Bourdais. In our Porsche keys to the race, pit stops were part of that, Jeremy. Is there a possibility that Chip Ganassi, the only team that has 2 cars in their roster in the race here, split strategy here? One goes slightly longer than the other, or do they just have to race their own races?
I mean, yeah. I think at this stage, how far we're into the race now? We're still an hour remaining in this race, 42 minutes down. So he's got to, if he's going to stretch this out to into just a 1 stopper, he's got another 7.5 minutes to go, which is another 5 laps around here. So it's going to be a stretch for him certainly, but I think it's just about doable. But Tristan Faucier now, he brings number 5 car into the pits out of 4th position.
So Bourdais now will be talking to his engineers. They'll have had a plan. They'll have talked about this yesterday and perhaps again this morning. They'll have had a plan. They'll know, roughly speaking, how many laps they wanted to go. The debris from the 57 Winwood car, by the way, has not been moved. I said it wasn't in the firing line. It's not quite on the racing line unless anybody wanted to go too wide side by side through turn 11. That's a really interesting decision from race control. I personally think it's the right one. All the drivers have seen it now. I know where it is. If we do have a full course yellow and the safety car comes out, then I'm pretty certain that that will get cleaned up. Now, right in front of the leader, Richard Westbrook has just got a lap down at turn 3 as he came out of the pits, having taken over the number 5, the JDC Miller Motorsports Mustang sampling Cadillac. So he's now off the lead lap, just 48 started that car, and the Brit Richard Westbrook now will take it to the end, and the checkered flag in around about 55 minutes time. It's 47 Celsius on the track, that's 117 Fahrenheit, 23 in the air, 73 Fahrenheit. Beautiful, with a little bit of cloud cover just blowing in this afternoon, but it's not the threatening clouds we've seen here in the past. Great conditions for racing, and a line of Michelin rubber being laid on the circuit that is keeping these lap times very impressive indeed.
Yeah, and just the interesting strategy there by Richard Westbrook at number 5 car, or the number 5 team, the JDC Miller Motorsports team, John Churchill actually to bring that car into the pits after just 31 laps, with what was that? That was about 47 or so minutes remaining, wasn't it? So he's going to have to save fuel from here to the end. But what's interesting is he's now back at he's behind the number 31 car of Pipo Derani, but the Derani car still has to make another pit stop.
Yeah, Pipo has been in that car now for 22 laps, and if you prefer, so where did we start? He started 25 past, so he's been in just over half an hour in that car. I reckon he's probably got another 15 or 20 minutes to go, and that will leave him with around about 40 minutes to run to the end of the race. Maybe 35.
He's got a very wide window. I mean, yeah,
yes, he has, absolutely.
Yeah.
And he's waiting to see what happens at the front. It's calculated, as you said before, Jeremy. He hasn't really gained. He's gained a couple of seconds on Bordet, who's yet to stop. Yet to make the stop that we know he has to. So that will come down. But the longer that Bordet goes into the race, and he's now been out there, of course, 46 minutes. Well, he's getting pretty close, isn't he, to being able to do it. He hasn't broken the race in half, but he's not a million miles away from doing that. 3 more minutes, 2 more laps, and he's broken the race in half. So 50 minutes is doable round here, I would say, and therefore we know he can go to the end.
Indeed, and that's why I think Richard Westbrook in number 5 team, and conceivably number 10 car, that's the real question mark. They did come in awfully early in order to be able to stretch it to the end, because that car was in already five laps ago. Philip Albuquerque is now, he's certainly well ahead of Richard Westbrook as he was before the round of pit stops. But he's certainly going to have to be on fairly major fuel save mode to get to the end from here. And number 10 car currently running in the 5th position.
That's Jeremy Shaw. He's alongside me, John Hindhoff. We're in the Hackney Global Broadcast Centre, Belle Isle, just out of the downtown area of Detroit, Michigan, with just over 52 minutes to go. And it's so far been 48 minutes of clear racing, and it's been a 48-minute run for Sébastien Bourdais, where he has not put a Michelin tyre wrong. Started from pole position, having taken half a second out of the qualifying record here on Belle Isle for the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship. He was held in the early running by Tom Blomqvist in the number 60, and Tom's actually closed back in again. He was down as far as nearly 4 seconds, but he's now just a second back, so the young Brit is pushing him very hard indeed. It's been a really good run. Generally, the accepted wisdom is that the Acura is not as good on point and squirt circuits, which street tracks tend to be, although in fairness, as we said in Michelin Countdown to Green, Belle Isle is not all that. There are a few 90-degree corners, but I still think that we've got to say, Jeremy, that Tom Blomqvist being a second away as Bourdais pulls into the pit and Blomqvist will follow him in, that's a heck of a first stint by young Tom Blomqvist.
Very much so, yeah, particularly on his first visit here today. So, yeah, really, really impressive here now. And, yeah, the question is, we're almost, we're 50 minutes remaining, so it's exactly halfway through this race. Who here is going to take a gamble, perhaps put a little bit less fuel in, so you have to do more fuel save in the later stages to get to the end. This is going to be really interesting now to see how, they're going to put as minimal fuel into these cars as they can. I don't think they're going to have to quite brim fill it, because they've shown such good fuel saving capabilities up until now that they're not going to leave every last drop of fuel in, but they're going to need a finite amount to get to the end. And the number 01 car is already underway, still waiting for the last drops of fuel into that number 60 car for Tom Blomqvist.
Well, they've decided to split the race up into two sections, and still waiting for the 02 of Alex Lynn to go. He was into the pits just a few seconds after.
No, he was a long way behind. He was about 18 seconds behind the second place car, was Alex Lynn in car number 02.
At the front of the field, ding ding, seconds out, round 2. And it is Earl Bamber and Ollie Jarvis who will take up the cudgels. If you're watching online, the timing screen has Ollie Jarvis in the lead. That's only because of where their pit stalls were when the cars came into the pits. It is certainly the 02 car that got back out in front, and in Earl Bamber, the affable New Zealander, they have a man on a mission at the moment. Ollie Jarvis will be chasing him down, another man from the United Kingdom. Hello to Chelsea, I'm sure is tuned in back in the UK. Bamber getting the power down out of turn number 11, and the gap, I would say, probably a second and a half, maybe a little bit more than that, as Ollie Jarvis was just held up for a moment behind the number 16 Porsche, the white motorsport car of Jan Halen. In the GT to Daytonas, all of their pit stops have been done, and they will certainly only do one stop as well, and Ben Barnicle, having taken the lead on that pit stop cycle, thanks to Carl Kirkwood's fabulous in-lap. Ben now with a 3-second lead to Ross Gunn for Heart of Racing Aston Martin, and Brian Sellers is a second further back, so 17, 27 and 1. Yellow and black Lexus, dark grey Aston, and dark grey with the Total sponsorship on. That is the M4 GT3. And then a big gap back to the rest of the field. Those three pulling away. At the front of the field, Pete O'Durani has cycled to the lead, having made that pit stop. The number 31 team bringing in Olivier Pla after just 10 laps. He's got a 12-second gap on Renger van der Zande for the 01 Cadillac of Chip Ganassi Racing. Ollie Jarvis for Meyershank Racing in third, Felipe Albuquerque in fourth, then Earl Bamber, who's on a real mission and was pushing the car very, very hard indeed earlier on, as they go through the far side of the circuit. That's your VP Racing Fuel in race update with just on 47 minutes to go, and I think Pete O'Durani's probably got 9 more laps to go.
Yeah, and he's certainly on the mission. His last lap was at 1:20.0 for Pipo Durrani. That is quicker than anybody else, but not as quick as his best lap race. He got down to a 19.908. Did on lap 27. We've now got 38 laps in the books for Pipo Durrani, so he's now going absolutely flat out to do what he can. He's got 48 seconds in hand over Richard Westbrook, who's running in 6th position, because I think the number 31 car is the only other DPI car that needs to make a pit stop before the end of this race, and so he's going to have to put the hammer down, and if he does so, he should probably have made up one position, but I don't think I think it's unlikely he will make up more than that. Earl Bamber is certainly going to be under threat. He's currently 33.5 seconds ahead of Earl Bamber, is our race leader, Pipo Derani. Earl Bamber running in 5th position in that number 02 car. But I think probably the 5th place is the best he can hope for.
So you think Albuquerque's okay to do an hour, do you? Because that's what he's going to have to do at the end of the race. The 10 car stopped after just 29 laps, with pretty much spot on an hour still to go. He's been out there 15 minutes. He's been out there 15 minutes now, and there's 54 minutes elapsed. Yeah, all right. It's that's yeah. Okay.
That's what I talked about. That was going to be pretty marginal for that on the 10 car, like I said at the time. Derani, by the way, another 19.8, excuse me, last time around for our race leader. So he is certainly absolutely foot to the floor in that number 31 car. He's extended that lead quite dramatically over Renger van der Zande, but of course he has to, because he's got absolutely nothing to lose. This Pipo Derani is now flat out all the way through this race.
Hello to Nigel Dobby in France, getting ready for another day at Le Mans. He was at the scrutineering today for the first time, scrutineering back on the streets in Place de Jacobin in downtown Le Mans City itself. Cars on the track tomorrow from 9 o'clock French time. Our voice of the WEC, Johnny Palmer and Bruce Jules, along with Paul Truswell on the stands, taking you through 8 hours of action exclusively over on our sister channel RS1. Shea Adam will be patrolling the paddock and the pits.
Derani's in the pits, serious.
Right, this is interesting, and has taken tyres. So I don't think he needed to come right in now. So I think people will have called that. That was about the same amount of laps that Ricky Taylor did from the start of the race. So maybe he's feeling the performance going off on the car.
Well, he just did his second best lap of the race on the previous lap, so he knew he was coming in. The team would have told him to push as hard as he can and see where he comes out, and he's out. Is that ahead of? No, I think it's behind Earl Bamber, ahead of Richard Westbrook. I think
he is ahead of Richard Westbrook, definitely, and Earl Bamber, he's coming to turn 7 at the moment, and at the end of that run down the strand, and now the 31 Pipo Derani turns on at turn 6. And he's got Richard Westbrook right up his tailpipe, Pipo, at the moment. He's the head down in the braking area at turn number 7.
So it's paid off for that team.
Tell you what it has done,
they
though.
gained one position.
Tell you what it has done, Jeremy, and I'll check this the next time he comes through. He was 54 seconds behind the leader. He's now only 34, so he's gained 20 seconds.
But that was as he came into the pits. So
okay.
That'll actually change by the time he comes around next time.
Okay, our timing isn't keeping up tonight. Right, okay. Let's see as it goes through. He's gone through a sector time already. There's the leader going through. Van der Zande through in sector 2. First sector runs from the start line to pretty much the exit of turn 4. Second sector, the middle sector. It's got the twisty bits through 5 and 6, then down the strand, and then half of the amphitheatre, the area from 7, 8, 9, and just turning into 9 through to the finish line around the back of the fountain. That's sector 3. So Pipo Derani has the fastest lap of the race, 1:19.8. That is a new race lap record. And at the sharp end, Philippe Albuquerque is beginning to put pressure on second place Ollie Jarvis, who's about a second and a half, 2 seconds. It's fluctuating in traffic. The 3 leaders on the start-finish run. Now, I won't say straight because there's a curve in it, down into turn 1, and now have the Lamborghini of Jeff Westphal and Carbon with Peregrine in between them. He stays to the right-hand side of the track. Oh, and almost blocks the Konica Minolta Acura inadvertently as he let through Ollie Jarvis on the run down from turn 2 to turn 3. and then so we didn't realise that Philippe Albuquerque was quite that close.
Yeah, and look at Ricky Taylor there. Philip Albuquerque. He's really charging along here now. And if he's turning these sort of lap times and still able to get to the end from here, that's a pretty stout effort. Because all of a sudden that gap has come down from second to third to well, just a few car lengths, maybe 8 or 10 car lengths ahead into turn 7 at the end of the strand there. And in the meantime, Renger van der Zande isn't too far ahead of them either, so all these top 3 cars have closed up considerably over the last few laps. Van der Zande, of course, he's just getting himself in the groove here. Like Bourdais at the beginning of the race, he's not pushing too hard too soon on these Michelin tyres. Bourdais, his first 11 laps of the race, 9 of them were quicker than the preceding lap. So he was just kind of building the heat and the tyres, building the heat into the tyres and not taking too much out of that Michelin rubber early on in his stint. So he's got the lead now. It's only a couple of seconds, and that's fine. There's no pressure really from behind for Renger van der Zande.
Under 40 minutes, 40 minutes to go. This has been a cracker so far. Cadillac have controlled it from the front. Corporate headquarters just down the road, within sight in fact, as they come through turn 12, across down to the Renaissance Centre. The Victory Circle will be right in front of that for the Indy cars next year. On a new circuit, which has a very unusual pit lane. It's running anti-clockwise, the track, and it's a long run down Leonard Street from turn 10 to turn 1, but the pits are actually between turn 7 and turn 9, and there's a central fast lane with the pits split either side, depending on where you qualify and where your team has been allocated. That's how it's going to work for IndyCar. A bit like Gilligan's Island at Sonoma was all those years ago for the NASCAR races.
Okay.
We've seen it before in sports car racing, seen it before in Indy cars as well. Down in Brazil, I seem to remember the pits weren't on start-finish straight, and we see it when the WEC comes to support IMSA at the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring. Their pits are actually on the back straight, but the timing line, the start-finish area, is still in its normal place on the front straight. Always makes life just a tad more difficult for our timing partners. So Renger van der Zande with 1.1 seconds at the front of the field, Jeremy.
Yeah, and that gap has closed down considerably, hasn't it? The top 3. Before the round of pit stops, there was about 6, 7 seconds between the top 3. Now they're covered by less than 2. So it's certainly closed that gap down, but closing the gap down is one thing, but changing those positions is entirely another kettle of fish altogether. Meanwhile, in GTD, as you see, Philip Albuquerque coming into the pits for some reason on the timing and scoring. That's curious.
That is the 10 car.
So,
I don't think they could go from where they were. I think this is just a splash, and they'll send him because his lap times have been. Yeah, his lap time wasn't too bad.
He wouldn't have needed to come in though when he came in on lap 28, so that's a slightly
no, they've had a problem.
That team.
They've had a problem because they've put more tyres on it, and they've put a lot more fuel than I expected into that car. That looked like that might have been right sides only. I wonder if he's just had a scrape of the wall and done some damage to his Michelins.
There's still 36 minutes remaining, so they wouldn't. He was about halfway through a stint right now.
He had been out for just 17 laps, Jeremy, and 23 minutes. So yeah, pretty much halfway through a stint. But we knew that he was going to be tight on fuel. So I wonder if they've changed their minds, looking at the pace at the front of the field, and thought, well, we can't save fuel anymore. we might as well roll the dice and see if there's a late race caution. Meantime, new fastest lap in GTD. It's the second place car fighting back, Jeremy.
Indeed, so I was just about to talk about that actually, because the last few laps, the second and third place car have closed in a little bit on Ben Barnicle, who still leads in that Vasser Sullivan Lexus. Ross Gunn and Brian Sellers in particular has been charging. In fact, each of those three cars on that last lap have reset their fastest laps in this race. Ross Gunn has set the fastest lap so far, 1:28.843 on this most recent lap, and all of a sudden now we've got these top three cars covered by maybe a couple of seconds or so. So it's very much game on in GTD, and the top three, well, the top two now with the number 10 pit stop are still, Oliver Jarvis is not falling back from Renger van der Zande in the lead of the race.
35 minutes to go. Jeremy Shaw and John Hindhaugh from the Hackney Global Broadcast Centre. The number 01 Cadillac, other than the pit stop cycle, has not been headed. Did see a couple of cars cycle through. The gap between first and Pete Waterani is indeed just 23 seconds now. So Durrani in fourth position with Richard Westbrook 3 seconds behind. Van der Zande leads by 1.6. This is the 01, which is leading out at the moment. That's the black car with the short hind quarters. Chip Ganassi coming off a huge victory, of course, in IndyCar, the Indianapolis 500 last weekend. Marcus Ericsson, just the second Swedish driver to win Indy's Blue Ribbon event. Indianapolis is IndyCar's Blue Ribbon event. Ollie Jarvis in second place in the number 60. That's the Meyershank Racing, another team that has split jobs this weekend. IndyCar category runner as well. Earl Bamber up into third now with that pit stop from Felipe Albuquerque. So first and third, the 02 car, first and third for Chip Ganassi, just 7.6 seconds away from the leader. 21.5 last time around for Earl Bamber. Made him the fastest of the top three, but Pipo Durrani is still the quickest car on the track with a 20.8 last time around. As I say that, Richard Westbrook goes through to 20.7, but then Durrani has reset the fastest lap of the race to a 19.2, and that gap to the leader is down under 20 seconds now. So this is certainly putting pressure, Jeremy Shaw, on the cars above, and we know that Pipo now has been able to put pressure on, but of course he can't make the end from his. Oh yes, he can. Of course, he's just stopped. He stopped at 2 laps ago. Sorry. So he's fueled to the end. So he's putting pressure on the cars in front.
Correct. He's got 12 seconds to make up. What's interesting is that Earl Bamber has certainly made up a lot of ground on those two leaders. He was, before the round of pit stops, a full 17 seconds behind, 18 seconds behind the number 60 car. Now the deficit is only 5. So Earl Bamber, having taken over from Alex Lynn, has really closed that gap down quite dramatically between the second and third place cars.
Meantime, there's a cracking battle going on in GTD at the front of the field, where the top three are within 2 seconds of each other. Ben Barnigan still holds a 1.5 second lead, but Ross Gunn and Brian Sellers, in respectively the Aston Martin of Heart of Racing team and the BMW M4 for Paul Miller Racing, are right together now. And they are... Where are they on the track? I think they're just about to get some DPI company. Yes, they are. They're going down to turn 3 at the moment, and they've got cars going through them and about to get Richard Westbrook going through that little battle. So danger time for Westy as he's trying to close in on Durrani. Durrani's cleared that little battle now and sets off in pursuit of the 0-2 of Earl Bamber. So Jeremy, half an hour to go then, and the top three, make that the top four, should be able to make it to the end. The top three all start together. People stopped together. People stopped, some 4 laps later. Richard Westbrook stopped a long time before all of them. He's now been out there for 18 laps, so he's 4 laps worse off than the top three.
Yeah, I mean, the top three came in absolutely at half distance,
yes,
didn't they? Plus, they did the 2 parade laps, or parade lap and the pace lap before the start of the race. So I think that the top three should have no problems. The number 5 car is I think certainly going to be struggling. Number 10 car much more so. I'm trying to find out why the number 10 car. I guess number 10 car, they committed to a 2-stopper, but it's curious when the number 60 car could go. It's certainly planning on doing it on a 1 at this stage. When number 10 car isn't, I don't know.
Well, still to play out. The stagger yet to unwind. Pico Durrani's doing his bit and pulling the leaders in. If nothing else, Jeremy, he's making them think about, if they had to do fuel saving, he's making them think about that, because he's closed in to under 15 seconds away from the leader. This is Pico doing what we know he can do in an unusual situation where they went massively off strategy after just 10 laps to get people into the car. And I think, and there's another fastest lap, a 1:18.877 now, Jeremy. The old lap record has been absolutely demolished.
Not only that, completely demolished. And not only that, he's within a few hundredths of a second of the qualifying lap record that was set yesterday by Sebastian Bourdais.
And so we thought that was a great time. It was
a great time.
I was going to say, yesterday it was amazing. What a difference a day makes, as the song goes.
Conditions are perfect right now. We've got some cloud cover. It's about 70 degrees or so. It's perfect conditions right now. Not many cars on the racetrack, so it couldn't get any better. But that certainly is a massively impressive lap time, not only by Pipo Derani, but also the fact that these Michelin tyres, he's 10 laps into this, what he hopes is his final stint of the race, and he's absolutely hammering it there. Aaron Telitz, by the way, has just gone purple and set the new fastest lap in the GTD class as well, a 1:28.7. And that is also a new lap record in GT, a race lap record in GTD, breaking the record from Bernd Schneider back in 2018. So conditions right now are perfect, and we've got some great drivers out there who are taking full advantage of those conditions, John.
Little or no wind to talk about.
This is interesting.
Now,
coming up, the GTD leaders right up behind Jan Halen, who's taken over from Ryan Hardwick, running at the tail end of the lead lap, quite literally in GTD. So he doesn't want to go a lap down here, but Jan Halen, he was quick yesterday in one of the practice sessions, but he's not been able to turn up the wick during the race. He's got the 3 leaders in GTD right behind him, all in a trade now: Barnicut, Gunn and Sellers.
Yeah, the Porsche of Wright Motorsports, the number 16 car, the Turner Motorsport BMW, just have not got their setup nailed this weekend. That's very unusual for both of those teams. That battle heading down at the moment. No, and they're going to get some attention from the prototype shortly as well. They're just going through turn 5 and into turn 6. They've all managed to get past Jan Halen as they head up to the right hander that'll take them onto Strand and down towards turn 7. I think out of everybody there, maybe Madison Snow got a slight advantage. Maybe Ben Barnicut just squeaked out a car's length or two as well. Looks like Madison was in the draft there for a moment, but wasn't quite close enough to put a move on Roscoe in the Harter Racing team. 3 different manufacturers. However, 3 front-engine, rear-wheel drive coupes at the front of the field. Seems to be the best way to go. The Acura and the Porsche sitting down, that's a mid-engine and a rear-engine car, and the Lamborghini sitting down in 6th, 7th and 8th. So the front-engined, more conventional GT cars, GT in the proper sense of the word Grand Tourer, are at the moment holding sway with just on 25 minutes to go, and it's closed up at the front of the field as well again as Ollie Jarvis has pulled back. And it's 7/10 of a second, 3/4 of a second, and he's had to because Earl Bamber's right there, and Pipo Derani, now only 8 seconds away from the lead, is taking 2 and 3 seconds a lap, Jeremy Shaw, out of the lead trio. Awesome stuff from Derani as he is making a race out of this in the number 31 Whelen Engineering Cadillac.
Yeah, I mean, nothing is predictable, is it, in the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship these days. I'm surprised that number 10 car committed to that 2-stop strategy, particularly doing it so late. I mean, if you're going to do it early, which is what number 31 car team did, and there's now 20 seconds between those two. That's how badly it paid off for number 10 car, which of course came into this weekend leading the championship. So that was a potentially hugely costly mistake by that team, assuming of course the number 60 car can keep it together and actually translate this into a one stop. Clearly Renger van der Zande has cut his pace quite dramatically. You're doing 22s now in this race, whereas Bourdais, even on full fuel save, was doing 21s and even 20s. So van der Zande is doing what he can just to bring this car home and make sure he's got enough fuel to get to the finish line.
It's Jeremy Shaw, he's with me, John Hindhaugh, in the Hagerty Global Broadcast Centre. The leader has got the better of the traffic, and it's Ollie Jarvis all of a sudden who's having to defend as he comes past the entrance to the pit and down to complete another lap. New fastest lap in GTD has gone the way of Paul Miller Racing, 1:28.7. It's another new lap record, this time from Brian Sellers in the number 1 car. Ollie Jarvis has fended off Earl Bamber as he goes through down turn 2 towards turn 3. And now they're 2 seconds behind Renger van der Zande for Cadillac Racing. The traffic giveth and the traffic taketh away, even with only 15 cars still running. And Pipo Derani now 6 seconds off the lead and 3.5 seconds away from a step on the podium. Awesome stuff from Whelen and from Pipo Derani. The Brazilian is turned up to 11.
Yeah, this is seriously impressive. I mean, he absolutely is charging on it. He made each of the last couple of laps, he's made 2 or even 3 seconds. Actually, the last lap it was more than that on the third place car. 1:23.3 for Bamber, 1:19.6 for Pipo Derani. The old lap record, by the way, was a 20.4. So Derani is absolutely flying. The question is he going to be able to get to the end without making another stop? But at this pace, if he could turn this because he made his final pit stop, Derani, with what, 40? It was over 40 minutes remaining in the race, wasn't it?
Who's that?
Derani.
Pipo has been out there.
Yeah, 44 minutes to go it was in this race.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty useful stint. Yeah,
he did 30 laps before he came into the pit lane after Ollie Pla had done 10, and now he's already done 16 laps in this stint, and he's going to be on the back of the leaders in 2 or 3 laps time if he keeps this pace up. He did a 21.7 last time around because he hit the traffic that the leaders hit, but they have only recovered to 21.6s. They were doing nearly 22s, late 21s into the 22s when there was traffic. He can see the back of them now. He can see the back of the cars he's chasing down, and he's only 4 seconds away from the lead, 2.5 seconds away from the battle for second and third. The top 3 have come back together, and now the top 4 are within 3 3/4 seconds, thanks to, frankly, an awesome drive by Pipo Derani. The Brazilian has been on the money today here at Belle Isle, and he's hunted them down. He's made this strategy work. Now, remember I mentioned 10 laps was where they came in right at the beginning, and how they split their race up. There are 15 laps to go at the moment, and I think all of the cars ahead are saving fuel. Now what they will do now, of course, is turn it all up. There's not really been any major opportunity or even a try to make the overtaking manoeuvres for the top three. They're as close as they have been now. They can't be messing about any longer, Jeremy, because they've got Durrani coming, and Durrani at this pace will blow by them if they don't pick up their pace. They won't want to try and defend because they don't want to drop track position from the cars in front of them.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they all reckon, I presume, that they can get to the end from here. I'm assuming Durrani can do so.
Oh yeah, he can.
Minutes, like I said. Yeah.
Well, if he can't,
at this pace.
Well, if he can't,
look at that mistake there by number 02 car. Tried to go past number 60, didn't pull it off, and almost lost a position to Durrani. So a tremendous battle going on as the leaders have worked their way past the fourth place car in GTD. That's Aaron Tielitz, who's also done a fabulous job. And we talked about him setting a new lap record a few laps ago. That has now been eclipsed once again by Ben Barnicat in the leading car in GTD. But this is tremendous battle.
Down to turn 3, the leader was slightly held up by what is in fact the third place car, Paul Miller Racing car. Madison Snow has been Brian Sellers has been broken away from the battle for first and second in that, as the leaders have gone by him. That BMW trying to stay out of the way, but there's only one line. Pipo Durrani is 4 laps better off on fuel than the 3 cars ahead of him. Now they have been saving fuel, but that's a lot of fuel for them to have to save. So if there's any worries for Durrani, there surely must be worries for the cars ahead. Durrani then with 18.5 minutes to deal with the 3 cars ahead. The old saying in motorsport, catching is one thing, passing is another. That has never been more true than it is now. The leader gets by the heart of racing, Aston and Ross Gunn. He will try and be as fair as possible, but hustling a GT car through the streets of Belle Isle is not an easy thing. Durrani squeezes his way through, but once again, Renger van der Zande has the best, and down the inside of turn 2. Here comes Durrani, and he's got the place. Gets a little tap for his... now that was a bit naughty from Earl Bamber. Bamber eased him out towards the wall there. Race controller, look at that, but Durrani has held on to the inside line at turn 3 and will not be denied. 2 charging drivers there, and Durrani put a hard move on turn 1, but there was room down the inside. Was there a bit of a squeeze on Bamber onto the left-handed curb? Maybe there was. Yeah, Durrani's there. There was a little check there. Bamber up on the curb. Another little hip and shoulder there from both of them. I think that's all right. Yeah. I think that's okay.
Well, I tell you what, Durrani gave Bamber no room at all through that turn 2, the left-hander there after the start-finish line. Let's have a look at this again. Down the inside, there goes Durrani, pushes him wide a little bit, that's far enough. And after that, though, he tried to squeeze off the number 02 car, and he's jolly lucky to get away with that, because I think Bamber did absolutely nothing wrong there whatsoever. And Durrani was being very, very forceful, chopping across the nose of the number 02 car, and he's got away with it. And he's a little bit fortunate, I think, but a fabulous move by Pipo Durrani, no question about it.
At IMSA Radio, hashtag Michelin PRT for post-race tech. Let's have your say on that. That was far less contact than we saw from Juan Pablo Montoya to win a race a couple of weekends ago. I think that one will be all right. The thing that I was looking at there, Jeremy, is the tyre marks on the road, and Durrani was still well off to the right-hand side of the tyre marks. Barely had his inside Michelins on the black bit. Earl on the curb, fair point there, but that has not been At the moment, that's not being looked at. I think you've got to let that one go. And we had quite a lot of contact at Mid-Ohio for the lead of the race, and indeed for the lead and the eventual win in LMP2, and that was let go. Bo Barfield is very much a hands-off race director, likes to see people give each other respect. Hands off in the respect that he'll try not to intervene, but he's very much available, doesn't hide out. He's the man walking around the paddock. So if anybody does want to tap him on the shoulder and have a word about any of his decisions, he is available. I think that's going to be all right. I'm watching the race control screen now. 15 minutes to go. Pipo Derani, 3.5 away from the lead, 2 seconds away from second place. But this has been, tactically then, a very good run that has been... And they'll have talked about this at Wheel and Engineering, Jeremy, and it's been made to work by the consistently quick pace of Pipo Derani. He has been outstanding in the 2 stints that he's done for the 51 laps that he's been in that red and white car.
It was very interesting because for a few laps, I guess it was just working his way through the traffic. After about 5 laps over his first stint, he really wasn't making much ground at all on the cars ahead of him. That's what's kind of surprised me, and I'm not quite sure why that would have been.
I wonder if they didn't change tyres. I wonder if he was on the starting tyres, because I did not see that.
Because they came in after 10
laps.
So it was, relatively short, small amount of fuel they would have needed at that stage in the race. But this is certainly a fascinating contest right now, and we've got the top 4 cars now separated by less than 5 seconds, and actually Richard Westbrook isn't too far behind them either in the number 5 car. He's been edging that gap down a little bit over the preceding, over this whole stint, in fact.
Another lap record for Ben Barnicoat, and then eclipsed as he went across the line by Ross Gunn. The battle at the front of GTD is no less fierce. 2 seconds between those two at the moment. And Brian Sellers is another 3.5 further back. The new best mark then in GT Daytona is a 1:28.5, and it belongs to Aston Martin and the Hartner Racing Team. Platinum Jubilee weekend, British mark with a British driver chasing down a leader. Possible. Be some celebrating there if they could get back through the lead. They did have a stranglehold on the race until the pit stop. Remember, Kyle Kirkwood with a couple of very, very quick laps when his competitors had gone into the pit lane, really hanging it out. Now the battle for second position overall, first, second and third, is Derani's just run over something with the right front Michelin. Piece of green bodywork coming out of the final corner was avoided by Ollie Jarvis, but the red and white Cadillac was right up the tailpipes of the Brit, and there was no room to manoeuvre for the Brazilian. Top 3 at turn 3 together and traffic ahead, and it is the number 51 Ryan Eversley driven Rickware Racing Acura, 7th position at the moment in GTD. This is a danger time for Renger van der Zande, particularly with the pace that Cadillac in 3rd position has. Got to clear this traffic cleanly.
Yeah, no question about it, because Derani has continued to charge right up onto the tail now of Oliver Jarvis, and he's just at this rate, can anybody deny Pipo Derani? That is the question mark right now. I mean, last lap around was 1:20.0 for Pipo Derani, so he's consistently lapping well beneath the old track record here, taking advantage of great conditions. But what a fabulous drive this has been by Derani.
Yeah, really brilliant stuff. Really brilliant stuff. 11.5 minutes to go. Or if you prefer, that should be round about 8, possibly 9 laps, depending on when the leaders cross the line. At the front of GT Daytona, Ben Barnicoat has the new lap record there, 1:28.5. 6.57. Well, he had it for a moment, and then it's gone, of course, to the Aston Martin in second, who's closing in just a wee bit. Ross Gunn can see the back of that bright yellow Lexus RCF as they come out of turn 11 round the back of the Scott Fountain through 12. Bit of debris on the track at turn 13, Jeremy.
So Westbrook is into the pits in car number 5 for the JDC Miller Motorsports entry. So
33 laps for him and 45 minutes on the track.
Yeah, his first stint was 31 laps, so yeah, that's about right. But what's interesting is the leaders stayed out till 36 on that first stint. So clearly Richard Westbrook, that's why he's been able to make up ground, because he's had to commit rather late here to this two-stop strategy. The number 10 car, this is fascinating motor race right now. And these top 4 cars, Bamber is right with Durrani again now. So watch out for some more fireworks at the front of the field. 10 minutes remaining.
That's because Pipo Durrani's been held up by the 2 cars ahead of him. He's got the pace if he could get by. He's not getting onto the tail of them in the places that he needs to be. There's still a heck of a lot of fuel saving going on by Van der Zande and Jarvis that just simply isn't happening. Although Earl Bamber's on the same strategy as the first 2 cars. Durrani, remember, is the one that has the 4-lap fuel advantage, but he has been charging. This could... Jeremy, we've seen races before in the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship where cars have coughed and spluttered and not got to the line. With 10 minutes to go, now round about 7 or 8 laps. This is the time, remember, at the start of the race where that Whelen Cadillac stopped. 10 laps is where it stopped, and then it stopped again to get to the end. Can these guys do it on just the one stop? The other thing you've got to ask yourself as well is, what are their tyres like? They haven't been pushing. What's Pipo's tyres like? 4 laps younger than the cars ahead of them, but he has been pushing. Has he still got performance potential in those Michelins?
And is he going to have a lunge here at turn 12? No, he's not. But he looked to me like he was kind of sizing up there. But I don't know. It's
turn 1 on turn 3.
Yeah,
it's got to be turn 3, hasn't it? He's got to be close through the start-finish here.
Yeah, and again a good run over that little crest there in turn 2. That left-hander leads on to the that straight.
Off the ground, all 4 wheels from Pipo Durrani. He's taking a slightly different line from Ollie Jarvis, but the Acura does look very good through turn 2, Jeremy, and that is keeping him ahead at the moment. Maybe an opportunity through traffic as Renger van der Zande goes by the Team Korthoff Mike Skeen driven number 32 AMG. And now we've got the battle behind coming through it as well. Here comes Durrani. And Earl Bamber's right in there as well. He gets held up this time with the dark red hindquarters on that 02 Chip Ganassi Cadillac. 2 Cadillacs and an Acura battling it out. 3 Cadillacs and an Acura battling it out for the Chevrolet SportsCar Classic with 8 minutes to go. And now there is a big gap between the leaders and the next GT car, which is crossing the line right now, and that's Bill Oberlin in Turner Motorsports number 96, currently running 15th and 9th in class. It's a long time since I've said that about any Turner Motorsport run car. Leaders across the line again.
Yeah, it's been a real struggle, hasn't it, for the that Turner Motorsport BMW. They've struggled right from the start. They didn't get the setup right yesterday in qualifying, but race day has even been more of a struggle. The other real surprise is Jan Halen has been struggling as well. He's in the 8th position right now in that the car that had so much success last season for Wright Motorsports, that Porsche. 23 last time around for a race leader. Wow.
Yeah, they are. Again, there was a bit of traffic there, Jeremy, but they are soft pedaling. And one of the things about saving fuel is you can't just squirt past. It's all about momentum, isn't it? If you lose momentum just because you've got a slow lap time, you might not be making your fuel numbers. This is going to be squeaky, I reckon, for the leaders. The car with the advantage, one would say, would be the 3rd car, the 31 Whelen Engineering Cadillac DPI.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be a problem for Durrani, certainly. He's going to have to do probably 32 laps on this stint. possibly 33. That could be a bit of a stretch. But the leaders in the first stinted race are 36 before they came into pits, plus those 2 parade laps as well. So it's certainly doable, but you've got to have a very controlled right foot to be able to make that work.
Yeah, 4 or 5 laps to go, which would make this a 37 lap stint for the first 2 if it was 5. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying not to go, I think, very many more than 37 or possibly 38 laps to the end of this race, splitting the race exactly in half time-wise. Bill Oberlin out of the gas. Make sure that the leaders have plenty of space to go through. Coming to turn 6, and Durrani right up the tailpipes again of Ollie Jarvis. This is the opportunity. Got to get a good exit here onto Strand, and he does, but I don't think he's quite there. The Acura is really punching out of the slower corners. That's normally the strength of the bigger engine Cadillac. V6 versus V8, 3.5 versus 5 litres of V8. Durrani seems to be much better through the corners, into and through the corners, but out of the corners. Oh, here he goes, down the inside into 12. That's not going to work. Very nearly got alongside, but not close enough. And now Durrani, perhaps slightly frustrated with only 5 minutes to go, drops back into the clutches of Earl Bamber, who has the opportunity in turn 1. Eschews that, bides his time. 2 Cadillacs together over the bump at turn 2. And that has given Ollie Jarvis a little bit of a breathing space.
And he thought about that move at turn 12 a few laps ago. And he thought about it getting even harder this time, I reckon. But wisely, I think, backed out of it. Look, he's got a great run going right now. He's not quite on the podium, but it's been a good streak of results for this team. They've had podiums in 3 of the last 4 races. So this team wants to keep that going. They want to get on the podium, or stay on the podium, I should say, rather than risking falling back some more. In the overall points chase, number 01 car is a long way back. They finished last in 4 of the 5 races so far this season. So they're a long way back in the points. They've scored more qualifying points than anybody else by quite a margin now. But it's race day that pays the bigger points by a factor of 10, and they're quite a long way behind. So the number 01 car, they're in it to win it here. And for the second place finish today, wouldn't be what the number 60 Meyer Shank Racing team wants, but it would probably be enough to take the championship lead.
Leader has got lucky with the traffic again. Great manoeuvre, and here comes Durrani at turn 2. Gets checked up. They're in behind the Lexus. Hashtag Michelin post-race, hashtag Michelin PRT down the inside for second and third. Durrani and Bamber are at it again, and Bamber this time is the forceful one down the inside and retakes the podium spot. Sauce for Goose, Gander, Sauce, etc. Rearrange into a well-known phrase or saying, hashtag Michelin PRT. Tell us what you think of what you've seen. Ask us questions at IMSA Radio. We'll stay on the air exclusively on IMSA Radio. Jeremy and myself here at the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. Well, we talked about track position in the Porsche Keys to the race. We talked about the uncompromising track and how close the walls are, and that there would be little time to make up the positions. But we've had great racing on the streets of Belle Isle. Down the inside into turn 3, for Earl Bamber. The block, tried to get the block in from Peepo, but he held his line. If anything, he was pulling out a little bit with the white line down the middle of the road. I think that was fair. Bamber eased across to open out the corner. I think that's okay as well. No action. It has been reviewed. Incident been reviewed. No action. Ryan Eversley's gone off at turn number 9 in the Rickware racing car, but we are still green. I think he must be in the runoff or got that car back going again. So Durrani, all that work by Whelan Engineering and the Action Express team to get a podium, and he's got probably 2 more laps to do it. 1 more at the end of this one, Jeremy, do we reckon? Yes, it is. white flag next time around.
Indeed so. So that'll be...
Here he comes again. Here he comes again. He's right with Earl. Earl's gone defensive really early to the right-hand side. Durrani's going to try and do the comeback here through 7 and 8. He's got a really good car under him. Durrani is driving brilliantly. He's really quick through the medium and fast corners. Coming out of turn 11 for the penultimate time. The leading 4 still within 3 seconds when they went across the line to start this lap. This time they'll see the white flag, and this isn't over. This could end up in a very expensive incident. If there's any mistake made, it's been 72 green laps for the Chevrolet Sports Car Classic, and it's well named because it has been a classic. 4 cars at the front of the field. Van der Zande with a seconds lead, but with traffic ahead of him. No, with a clear road ahead of him. He will not have to lap the Jan Halen Wright Motorsports car again. So Ollie Jarvis, if he's got anything left, he's got to get it out of the fast draw now. And you really don't know where third place is going to go. Durrani had the strategy and had the car to win this race. He had the pace, but couldn't make the move stick when he got to the leaders. Might have to settle for third rather, or fourth. He's in fourth at the moment. He wants to upgrade that to a podium position. Through turn 11 for the final time. Here's Durrani. Will he slide to the right-hand side here? He's tried this little manoeuvre before. He's not close enough. It's going to be Chip Ganassi and the Cadillac 01 who take it. One more corner to go, and the top 4 are going to be within a second and a half as they come to the line. Durrani drops away. What a finish! What a race! Cadillac win the Corvette Sports Car Classic ahead of Acura and 2 more Cadillacs, and it will be Ben Barnicoat and Vasser Sullivan with a changed team for the 17 car, the additional GT Daytona car, ahead of Aston Martin Racing and Harter Racing team. Paul Miller Racing in third, and just off the podium, the second of the Vasser Sullivan cars. That's the full season GTD car with the fastest lap of the race, 1:28.3. Pipo Durrani has the fastest lap and a new lap record, which of course will now not be broken, as this is the last sports car race on Belle Isle for IMSA. 1:18.877, and Jeremy Shaw, we can say we saw it. What a race in both categories. 14 of the 16 cars are going to finish 2 classes, and great racing.
Sensational. What a great motor race that was. That was action-packed from start to finish. Different strategies, fabulous pace, tremendous consistency. Boy, that was a lot of fun. But golly, Sebastian Bourdais was just stunning in this race. And
I think Durrani's out of fuel. I think Durrani is out of fuel.
I'm sure he is. No question about it. Yeah, because that was stretching. He's done 34 laps on this stint. He came in at the end of lap 40 to make this to make his second stop, and at the end of lap 40 we've done 73 laps. So 33 laps. Yeah, 33.
Yeah,
you said, isn't it?
Yeah,
you're right. But the first stint was 36, and that's the remarkable thing for me. For those top 3 cars, they all made it on just a 1 stop, and they come home with a 1-2-3 finish just for the second stop. It came within inches, didn't it, for Pipo Durrani? Again, it goes back to the importance of track position ultimately. Yeah. But what a great job all of these drivers have done in this tremendous motor race.
37 laps on the second stint for the leaders, and we said that was about as much as they could go. They did 36 and a couple of parade laps on the first lap, as Jeremy Shaw's just mentioned. They had to be driving with their slippers on, right the way through. That, we've talked about this before, Jeremy. We've talked about it with drivers like Scott Dixon in IndyCar, Dario Franchitti before him, with Richard Westbrook. Here, got another car, the Rick Ware car that is, that has come out from behind the wall but doesn't get involved. That was Ryan Eversley, who had problems at the end. If you're going to commit to fuel saving in a single stint, you've got to do it right from the beginning. If you're going to commit to fuel saving in a single stint to get you home in such a short race, they knew they had to fuel save in both stints, and you picked it up right at the start, Jeremy, with the lap times being 3 or 4 seconds off where we thought it would be. So that was a whole race strategy by those top cars.
It was a huge amount of fun. It really was. I mean, you had to commit to that early. The big loser today, for my money, was the Konica Minolta Acura team, car number 10, because they committed late to making a 2-stop race, and that's cost them dearly, because it's cost them 3 positions ultimately. They were running in 3rd position before, and they're going to end up 2 positions. They're going to end up in 5th position, but it has cost them the championship lead, because unofficially, at least, Meyershank Racing with Kerbager Jane will take over the points lead with another 2nd place finish for the number 60 car.
They head towards the podium at the Scott Memorial Fountain, and a reminder that we'll stay on the air on RS2 IMSA Radio via imsaradio.com for Mitchell and Porsche Race Tech, and in around about 25 minutes, just under that, over on RS1, Shea Adam reporting from scrutineering at the Le Mans 24 Hours, the 99th year of that great race. And of course, you will be able to hear the whole 8 hours of the test day exclusively live on Haggerty Radio Le Mans, 91.2 FM around the track and around the world on the Radio Show Limited RS1 channel. And we'll have the whole race for you on XM Sirius. You are able to listen to this race as well today on XM Sirius as well, thanks to them for their airwaves. Jeremy, before we hand off to our colleagues at Victory Circle, let's quickly run through the points for the other classes.
Yeah, so in the overall then, this will now give a total of 2,027 points for the number 60 team, Oliver Jarvis and Tom Blomqvist, to the 1997, so a 30-point advantage over Ricky Taylor and Philip Albuquerque. That's number 60 car over the 60. In 3rd position on 1931 will be Earl Bamber and Alex Lynn. In the GTD category, the lead coming into this round was held by Team Korthoff Motorsports. They covered a 32 on 15.20. That will remain the case. In fact, they will extend their lead over Wright Motorsports, the number 16 car, in 2nd position. So Stephen McAleer, with the 6th place finish today, will extend his lead over Ryan Hardwick and Jan Halen.
Great team effort for all of the cars that are in.
And by the way, just
very
quickly,
ahead.
John, very quickly, in manufacturer points in the GTD, I think this is going to put Porsche will still lead just about.
Yes.
My for that. Wait a minute, wrong table.
16th position. This is the sprint, isn't it? As well?
No, scratch that. So I'm right before. BMW will now take the lead in GTD manufacturers, 16.19 to the 16.15 of Mercedes that came in leading, and then Porsche will drop to 3rd place on 15.71. John.
Thank you, Jeremy. Great team effort from everyone who's made it to the James Scott Memorial Fountain, to Victory Circle and to the podium, and also on the broadcast crew. We've had great times every single year that we've been here to beautiful Belle Isle. We're going to miss it. Let's hope that IMSA is coming back to Detroit. It is one of my favourite cities. Thank you to our camera operators, to our technicians on site, to everybody at NASCAR Productions at Charlotte that made sure that we could see the pictures. Tim Gray was our main control operator over and up in London, to make sure IMSA Radio went back to the world. Jeremy Shaw was with me, John Hindhaugh, in the Haggerty Global Broadcast booth. Stay tuned to RS2 IMSA Radio as we sign off from Belle Isle after a wonderful 3 decades of street racing here with sports car racing. Michelin Post Race Tech is next.